wonder this morning with you on how you answer a call. Now, obviously, there's a lot of preachers who preach calls to you, but calls come in all sorts of different ways and different calls, and in the reading we've had, Jesus had a call. When somebody said, "This is Lansford's leaving service, would you like to come?" How did you answer that call? Travelled all the way down from Hull, some people. Travelled down from Lancashire, others. I want to take you back to 2011. It was the last year of my first appointment in East Hull, which is now part of the Hull and South Holderness Circuit, but it wasn't then. And it was a Monday morning, and I received a phone call from an unknown number. I chose to answer it, and it was a foreign voice on a crackly line. And my thoughts could have gone, Nick Stapleton, scam interceptors. Or maybe PPP, or maybe it was one of those double glazing salesmen that was trying to get hold of me on this strange number. But I answered it, and it were him. Him. See, he'd left Sierra Leone, and he'd come to Hull to study theology, and had stayed there. And on a Sunday morning, he came to visit one of my little churches on Bransholme, an estate in East Hull, which is one of the biggest estates in Europe, with all its deprivation and all its problems. But a faithful congregation of no more than 12 to 20, seeking to serve Jesus in that community. And Lansford came on a Sunday morning to worship and couldn't find the front door. And so he rang me up on the Monday and said, "I think I could help your church. Can we meet?" How do you answer that call? Is it serious? Is it a wind-up? Is it somebody who wants to meet me for a good reason or not? Of course, it was an iffy estate we were on, if we remember rightly. But we met. And the infectious personality that you've met is the one that I met. Here he is. And he said, "How can I help you?" He explained on one of his first Sundays in Hull, he decided to go to church. How about that? And so he came to Beverley Road, which, if you don't know Hull, it's one of the main roads out of the centre up to the outskirts. It's one of the main roads. And he walked down and he came across a URC church, which had closed the week before. And so he carried on and came across a Salvation Army church, which had worship alternate Sundays, and not that Sunday. He got down, he told me, into the centre of Hull before he found a little small Anglican church with a small elderly congregation who were just about to have the last hymn by the time he got there. He hadn't found a Methodist church on the way down. He had to drive round to find one of them. That was his first experience. And I remember him saying to me in that meeting, this is the church that sent missionaries out to my country. And now I come back and find it difficult to find a thriving church. How can I help? That was a call. How can I help? So he spent 6 months shadowing me. I had to leave in 6 months' time, a new appointment to come up. But when I left, the circuit accepted Lansford without necessarily being part of full connection yet, and Tony will explain what that means if you're not sure, to say he could pick up some of the work that I had left behind, serving partly as minister at the Bransholme Church, and then Sutton and Holderness Road that people are hearing across the circuit, just passing on the baton. How can I help? How can you help? What about this reading that Grace just read for us? Of course, yes, I met Grace in that time as well, and some of the girls. We've got this call where Jesus is leaving Jericho on his way to Jerusalem, and he receives an unexpected call from a blind man. Jesus, son of David. You know, in Mark's gospel, Mark doesn't use the word son of David often, but twice in this reading. And that's to represent the fact that David went to Jerusalem to claim his kingdom as king, and this is calling that Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem to do the same, but in a different way, a different form of kingdom, a heavenly kingdom of all believers. But Jesus on that way gets this strange call. Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. How does he answer that call? Lots of other people are saying, be quiet, shut up. He doesn't want to talk to you, he's busy. How do you answer that call when someone in need comes and asks for you? Well, Jesus turned and just said, how can I help you? What do you want? And the man threw off his cloak and got up, and Jesus healed him. And it says at the end of the reading that Grace just read for us, immediately, having received his sight, he followed Jesus along the road. It left me with two questions when I was preaching this for the congregations back in Oswaldtwistle. One, what was the bloke's name? I like interaction with congregations. You don't all have to shout out. What was his name? Blind Bartimaeus? Answer, we haven't got a clue what his name is. He was the son of Timaeus. We don't know what his name was. He was an unnamed person who responded to Jesus' call because of Jesus met his need. You know, many of us, in terms of the Christian world, in terms of the world, are unknown. We might know each other, and I guarantee you this morning in this congregation, you don't all know each other, or your names. We don't know his name. We just know who he's from, but he asked Jesus. We're all the same. The second question was, where was Jesus going on this road? And the answer was obviously Jerusalem. Less obviously, he was going to Palm Sunday. Bartimaeus, let's call him Bart, because we don't know his name, Bart, followed Jesus for the whole of 2 weeks. And one of them was Holy Week. Having received his sight and walked the 18 or 20 miles with him to Jerusalem, he enters Palm Sunday, and then by Good Friday sees his miracle savior crucified. But he's also there for resurrection time. We don't hear any more about him, but he says he was a disciple of Jesus, and he followed Jesus. And I'm sure he told others about it. How good are we at doing that? Telling others about what Jesus has done for us. Bartimaeus, Bart, followed Jesus for a short period of time and then was a disciple. Lansford followed me for a short period of time as well, and then did it better. Because that's why you're here today. Being in this place, the Hallow of Hallows. Lansford felt a call and said, how can I help the church? And interestingly for me, he chose to help a small white church. A small, struggling white church. You know, we sang that song with Junior Church about, no, don't matter about the colour of the skin or the colour of our hair. I'm sure Lansford could have found a lively evangelical church in Hull somewhere, an Afro-Caribbean church in Hull somewhere, but he chose to serve where the need was. Maybe that's a call this morning to some. For I come from an area where small villages and small towns, where the endemic white congregation that's been keeping the faith alive in those communities for 60, 70, 80 years are tired and are struggling. I just want something to lift them up. Is that a call for you this morning? Do you see them? Do you hear them call out? The hymn we're going to sing after this is, Lord, you call us to your service, each in our own way. How is Jesus calling you this morning? How do you respond to the call? I could have easily turned around to Lansford on that phone call and said, sorry, mate, I'm busy. Monday's my day off. Yeah? Or, sorry, I had a busy service yesterday. I'm a bit tired. I could have responded that way to him. We all could. But just imagine if I had. Would you have ever met him? Would he have said, Well, the Methodist Church doesn't want me. I'll try another one. The response was easy. The journey is with Christ. How do we follow that journey with Christ? Lansford became an inspiration. Well, he did to us, and I've heard that he did for you as well. And he will do from wherever that other place is down south I've never heard of. He will be to us in November when he comes up to Oswald Twistle to preach a weekend with us. But being inspired means doing something about it when somebody leaves. Bartimaeus didn't just go back to begging again. He got on and served. When this guy leaves, somebody else is going to come, but how are you going to respond to what he's preached with you? Are you going to read his 31 sermons with interest? Or be challenged by them to follow his lead and serve wherever he's placed, regardless of the colour of skin or the colour of hair or the age of the congregation, or whether they speak proper or whether they don't speak proper. If it's not lanky, it's not proper, as long as you know that. And so, Lansford, I want to say to you, thank you for serving Jesus the way you have. For Grace, thank you for supporting him when he came to us the way you did. And if you want to hear any more about how he went on his first trip to a crematorium, ask me later. But God bless you, and God bless the work that goes on in this place. And God bless the call that you are going to answer as a result of today. Amen.